Hi, I'm Arlene McIntyre, Creative Director at Ventura Design, and you're listening to Shut the Front Door, a light-hearted podcast that will bring you through the front door and into the homes of influential and interesting people. Home for me is one of the most important things in my life. My career has fortunately given me the opportunity to work closely with people and to help them create a home they will cherish forever. Today on Shut the Front Door, we are joined by entrepreneur and TV personality Spencer Matthews. Spencer was a much-loved character on E4's reality TV show Made in Chelsea. And since the show, he's gone down the entrepreneurial route and established successful companies such as Eden Rocks, a bespoke diamond retailer, and CleanCo. In 2018, Spencer married the lovely Vogue Willams, and the couple have two beautiful children, Theodore and Gigi Margeaux. Spencer, we can't wait to hear all about your story of home. Welcome to Shut the Front Door.
Thank you very much, Arlene. Cheers for that lovely intro.
Is it snowing in London today?
It certainly is. It's like a blizzard outside. But, you know, you're not supposed to leave the house for anything other than a walk. So to be fair, it's not that big a deal.
So it's so you've been out and about this morning, up and early, ready for the week.
I went for a quick run around the park. I just feel that, in particular, on a Monday morning, you've got to start your week strong, eh? Otherwise, it's quite easy in these lockdown times to get a bit comfortable.
Exactly. And do you bring Winnie out with you when you're running, or do you go solo?
I certainly do. He's got a few years on the clock now, so if you fancy kind of a speed lap, he's not the best companion. But if you're going for a nice slow lap just to stretch your legs or a couple of laps, then no problem. But you wouldn't take him with you if you're looking to break any records.
Exactly. And how is Vogue, Theo and Gigi?
They're just fantastic. I feel very lucky every day to have such a lovely family. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. No, Vogue's awesome. She's my best friend. So obviously for us, lockdowns, I mean, obviously, it's not ideal for the country, but no, we're very happy getting to spend all this time together. Is a nice change to kind of always being at work. And the kids. Gigi had a bit of a whingy day yesterday, but that did feel like a first. She's pretty epic in general. And Theodore was on great form too. So, you know, I think we don't have much to complain about as a family.
I can't believe how big Theo is getting. And Theo is like carved out of Vogue, and Gigi is literally carved out of you.
Yeah, although alarmingly, I did see a photo of Vogue when she was a baby, a similar age to Gigi, and they look identical. So,
really?
Well, you know, you'd want Gigi to grow up looking more like Vogue than like me. So fortunately, it's probably good news. She's
so gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. I love following Vogue on Instagram. Both of you are just gorgeous photographs.
She's her head is very spherical, which is of course what you'd want. Theodore had a slightly more complicated birth, and therefore didn't look quite as kind of angelic in the early days. He was, I don't know the term for it, you will, but he was kind of suctioned out.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, nice. Indeed. And it meant that he had a slightly longer head than one might expect from a child. Was
your experience with Vogue when you were having Theo different to Gigi, or was it kind of, do you have different memories?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely different. Obviously, the first time you do anything is, in particular, childbirth is more daunting than the second, because obviously you know what awaits in the hospital. But obviously with Gigi, we had COVID as well, so there was a number of parameters that you know we had to adhere to, which we didn't have the first time round, and also just the birth was somewhat more complicated the first time round. At one point, it looked like we might the Vogue may have needed a C-section due to complications, and actually it worked out differently in the end. But no, the first one was certainly more traumatic than the rather straightforward second one. So no, the second one was it was a completely different deal, much easier.
And are you sleeping well? You guys getting your sleep?
Yeah, not too bad. Gigi still requires one feed in the night, which I do most evenings. I'd say Vogue carries more weight than I do with the kids typically during the day. So I do the night feed. And essentially, it's fine. There's that kind of one disturbance. We've become huge fans of the Whoop. I don't know if you know what a Whoop is.
No, I don't.
It's a device that you wear around your wrist, sort of like a Fitbit, and it measures your daily exertion, which they call strain, and your sleep are its kind of two main metrics. And it's sure if you're into your sport and you're kind of relatively fit, you compete against yourself essentially, but it tells you when you should be exerting high levels of strain on your body and when you shouldn't, in accordance with your sleep. Incredible thing, actually. Right. And so we know kind of to the second how much sleep we're getting at night, because it can tell when you're awake and when you're asleep, and it kind of breaks it down for you. It's a lot of kind of data that I never thought I'd want, but actually it's kind of addictive when you get hold of one.
I need to get one of those. It's
pretty cool, actually, and they're remarkably accurate. Like if you go for a little jog and you forget to say that you've been running, it'll tell you you've been running.
That's unreal. That's very cool. And where did you get it? Just online?
Yeah, just online. I'm probably just at whoop.com. This isn't an advert, by the way. I'm in no way. I'm in no way with. I'm in no way a part of Whoop. But no, I kind of got turned on to it by a few people. I noticed from the States had them, and
cool.
We tried them out, and actually, it's quite easy to. If I'll send you a link to one, and I'll get a free month. So there you go. How about that?
Excellent. I'd love one.
You can pass it on to all your pals, and you'll never have to pay for your monthly subscription either.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good plan. So, Spencer, there is loads of questions I'd love to start asking you. And if I may, I'd love to learn about your first childhood memories of home.
Wow. My first childhood memories of home were in a very small town that no one will have heard of called Cornton. I was born in Grantham, in the same hospital as Margaret Thatcher, my dad still, for whatever reason, reminds me of. And we lived in a very quiet, incredibly kind of underpopulated area of England called Cornton, just next to Newark. And you won't have heard of Newark either, I suppose. And that's near Nottingham, which is, of course, where Robin Hood is from.
Oh.
So as a kid, I remember being somewhat close to Robin, although my archery was never quite on a par with his. So yeah, no, small town. I think 68 people or 70 people live in Cornton. Tiny town. Like, even as a very young child, you could bike around the town in no time at all. 10 minutes type thing. So that was interesting. I grew up there with my brothers for 4 years, something like that, 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And then actually, I spent a year in Paris as a tiny kid at school in Paris, which actually, I realize that it's probably not for everyone, but if you'd like your kid to speak different languages, it's incredibly easy for young children to pick up. Yes. Foreign languages. They're like sponges. Mm-hmm. So I did 10, 11 months in Paris. French got pretty good, and then ended up relocating to the Caribbean permanently. So I lived in St. Bart's my whole childhood, really. So it was a mix of English countryside. So, nothing to do with a city of any kind, kind of, rolling hills type thing, bike rides, little mates on trampolines and stuff. I was very young. I remember an early birthday, waking up to purple and gold balloons, and Sue Innes, our neighbour, had made me a chocolate cake shaped like a rabbit. So I remember that, which was very kind of her. But I suppose more of my childhood memories are from the Caribbean in St. Bart's. My mother and father bought a kind of really run down 4-bedroom, what was then a hotel, on a really small island called St. Bart's, which really had, I say it had very little going for it, but it was a kind of diamond in the rough, I suppose. Yet to be polished. There was kind of, it was surf shack here, burger shack there type thing. And now I don't know how many of your listeners will be familiar with St. Bart's, but now it's St. Bart's. So it's a bit different, and we've we kept that house on and grew it to be the Eden Rock Hotel, and that's certainly my mum and dad's kind of primary focus, or has been since 1995. But everyone always says, oh wow, they're so lucky to have grown up in the Eden Rock, and of course they're talking about the kind of Eden Rock now, which is a bit different to the Eden Rock that I grew up in, but nonetheless, it was incredibly exciting and interesting. And there's no crime at all on St. Bart's. It's always been the case. It's a bit of a strange island like that. There's no legal gambling. There's no there's no kind of prostitution. There's no fast food even. It's a very strange. There's no kind of cause for criminal activity. It's also a very small island. You can walk everywhere. You're very safe. So for kids, actually, it's kind of perfect. I'm not saying that if you leave your watch on your car seat, it's not going to get nicked. But it's typically speaking, it's crime free essentially.
What's the population?
The population kind of quadruples for a month of the year in December. I'd have to double check it. I think it's about 30,000 people live there all year round.
Wow.
And then there's about 100 to 120,000 people that descend upon it for kind of the high season, which is about 3 weeks at the end of the year. So it's very small, but it's kind of not that small, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like Hoth, I guess, where Vogue is from. It would be a similar size to Hoth, you would imagine. Maybe it's a bit bigger than Hoth.
Gotcha.
I've only been to Hoth a few times. Beautiful part of the world.
It sure is. And so where do you call home? Where would you call your home? Is it London?
St. Bart's feels like home to me. So I love it there. I've always felt a kind of deep connection with the island. Obviously London I see as being our primary home. It's where our kids live, and it's home to them, and obviously I'm not in St. Bart's long enough at all to call it home. It's where our primary kind of family business is. So obviously I'm out there at key times of the year. I'm a director of the business, so as well as it being a wonderful place to holiday, there's plenty of work to be done when we're out there as well, which is both fun and pleasurable.
Nice place.
But no, it's exciting, and Vogue is much loved, and we love getting out there as often as possible.
Yeah,
but no, I'd have to say that London probably is where I should call home.
So tell me then, when did you come back to London? What age were you then?
I came back to London age 10. I had a couple of years in quite a strict school called Trevor Roberts. And that was kind of very little sport, loads of work. The idea being that, if you want to go to schools which, certainly at the time were considered to be high end or whatever, that they would give you a good chance of getting in. So I actually didn't particularly enjoy those 2 years. I remember, the school was great and the teachers and stuff were fantastic, and I get what they're doing. But as a kid, it's kind of not, you hear of other schools where you're playing sport all the time and you're interacting with kids. This was very much kind of, right, let's hammer you as hard as you possibly can, across these subjects so that you can get into, a good secondary school. So it wasn't the greatest time I've ever had. And then kind of I've lived in London ever since, really. Went to boarding school, and then did a year in California for university before coming back here to work in the city.
Wow. So you have gotten around. You've definitely traveled.
I love it. I think it's important for young kids to jump around a bit and experience other things. My education for many years was 100% in French. The English teacher could hardly speak English. So I think it's, but that's interesting. And, it means that I now have French as a second language, which I speak to Theodore actually in French. Gigi's obviously a bit young. She can't speak English, bless her, but I speak to, to Theodore in French some days. I try and remember to speak to him from, dawn until dusk in French. Never happens, obviously, because you forget. But
he understands you.
Not really. He kind of sort of does, because I kind of, point and gesture and things that he would ordinarily understand, I then say in French, and I do the same thing that I would if I was saying it in English. So I think he is kind of making the bridge. He's slightly young, if I'm honest. I think the kind of key age is maybe 4, yes. 4 or 5 is when it really sinks in quickly. So I don't know. I'd love them to be able to speak French, Italian, whatever. It's not. If you can, and I realise it's not. It's probably not a popular choice, nor is it one that's common. But if you're able to just just jump over to somewhere else just for the fun of it, when they're really young for even just a few months, it's interesting, right? Yeah,
totally. Ali, for example, my little girl understands German when Jürgen speaks German to her. And she understands Italian when her sister speaks Italian to her.
Well, there you go. You've got a multilingual family.
Exactly. And our little minder is Romanian, and she understands Romanian. And it's like I can barely speak English, and I cannot believe that she's responding to all these different languages. And she's only 18 months. So yeah, when they're young, that's the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I personally feel that being able to communicate in different languages is a great skill to have.
Definitely.
I think of all the things that I kind of picked up from school, I'd say that that's easily the most useful.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, Spencer, what posters did you have on your teenage walls, bedroom walls? But it doesn't sound like you had posters on your teenage bedroom walls.
No, I will have had some posters at school for sure. I'm just trying to think of who they may have been of. I think I was never a trendsetter, so I would often try and just follow what was popular at the time or what other kids thought was cool. I was never the coolest kid in class. But I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I remember actually with my mum going to Selfridges a few days before the first day. I don't know why we were in Selfridges looking at music when back then you had HMV and all sorts of actual music shops. But I'm pretty sure there was an HMV in Selfridges, and we went in there to pick music for school because I had a little CD player. And I can remember just picking kind of just what was deemed to be cool. Great music at the time. Yeah, Coldplay, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Shaggy, I think somehow made his way into that list. And there was a bunch of stuff, and I remember kind of listening to it and actually really enjoying it, but I didn't know what it was before. I've never been particularly musical.
But you can sing. You can really sing.
Well, not really, like bits and pieces.
Yes, you can. I've heard you sing. You can sing. Surprisingly well.
I have a bit of fun singing at home. I wouldn't put the rest of the world through it, I don't think. In the shower, perhaps.
What are your memories of your family home style? Like, what kind of style would they have had?
It was a lovely house. I mean, some of the property that you can get in England just as soon as you leave a big city is just fantastic, actually. Yeah. But value for money is crazy. Here's my wife.
Hello.
I'm on with Arlene.
Arlene's mine. Hi, Arlene.
We're just talking about.
Good morning, Vogue.
We were just talking about how stylish Vogue is, weren't we, Arlene?
Oh,
yeah.
Off you get. She's hijacked our interview, Arlene.
Yeah, I can't imagine what you're talking about, Arlene. If he tries to say he had anything to do with Hoth, put him back in his place.
Don't you worry.
Hoth.
I got your back.
I may have said that Hoth was pretty, but I'm not quite sure why. Anyway, here we go.
Ciao. See you.
She's still here, but let's crack on, Arlene.
Okay. God, while I have Vogue, I'd love to ask her a question. While you're both here.
Vogue, it turns out that there's actually a question for you.
While I have you guys, how is life with 2 babies during the lockdown?
Oh, it's lovely.
I already told you, Arlene.
I want to hear Vogue's story.
Her series of events. You don't believe me?
It's kind of gotten to the point, right, where we're so used to spending so much time with them that I had to go out filming the other day, and I just found myself thinking, God, I don't want to go out. I don't want to leave them, because you're with them like for the most part of every day. We work from home, but like I'm always up and down and seeing them, and I think it's been great actually. And we've got to spend time with Gigi that we never would have gotten had we been working. So it's been good. I can't complain.
How funny. That's exactly what I said.
It is exactly. This is like a game show. I was just testing.
Well, there you go. We're the same. Okay, I'll let you guys get back to your pod.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye.
About time. Bye. Yeah.
What was I talking about?
Marlene, it's a shame you don't have your video on. I'm rocking a mustache.
Oh, fabulous.
And I was rather hoping that we could
like a
debut
Burt
it.
Reynolds style.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Wow.
But actually, it's pretty high end. I can see myself keeping it. I'm a bit of a fan of the mustache. I've been watching a few shows on Netflix and bits and pieces, and I've seen a couple of one guy I thought looked a little bit similar to me. I was like, oh, look, he's cool looking, and he had a mustache, and I thought maybe I'll try a mustache.
Wow.
And here we are.
And do you have like the handlebars sort of situation?
No, it's just a bog standard kind of
tash.
Almost presidential tash. Yeah.
Interesting. And how does Vogue feel about the third member of your family? Or the fifth member of your family?
What about the mustache? Go on.
I mean, it's not the nicest thing I've ever seen.
But it's ridiculous. You said to keep it.
It's okay.
Why do you tell me to do things and then as soon as then we're on the podcast and you say it's crap?
I didn't tell you to do it.
That's
you
nonsense.
told yourself.
No. Vogue loves it, don't you, darling?
Okay, I love it.
There you go.
And how are you maintaining it? Because my dad, when we were small, had a mustache, and he used to get these kind of kits.
He sounds like a legend.
And he would have this kit, and it was actually disgusting.
Oh, well, no, I haven't got a kit. I don't think we're anywhere near kit level. I've essentially grown out facial hair and shaved around my mustache twice. So, it's kind of beard length and nothing else is there.
Well, it's important probably just to get it out of your system. No harm in trying it out.
A good bash.
Yeah, why not? And when it gets to the handlebar phase, I think you'll probably need to check in with yourself. Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Well, let's see if we can keep it under control, will we?
Yeah, definitely. You need to post that. Everyone needs to see how that's evolving. That's incredible. That's like your lockdown cash.
I don't really post anymore much.
You should.
I know. I'm not interested.
People would love to see how that tash is developing, and it could just take on its own Instagram page.
That's part of the reason I don't like Instagram, is the fact that I'm sure people would be interested in watching somebody else's facial hair grow. But unfortunately, I think I don't get it. I know that you're big into your Instagram.
Well, my business is. I don't know that I am personally, to be honest. Not myself. I rarely kind of post stuff about my own private life, but
I feel like it's almost impossible to feel like an adult when you're on Instagram. Unless it's for the business, obviously. Like CleanCo has an Instagram account, obviously, and we very much value our following for that. I'm just talking about on a personal level. I don't really see the point in updating people with how I'm working out and what I'm having for lunch, and it's none of their business really.
Interesting. So let me get back to my questions, because I have 500,000 questions for you.
Excellent.
You've recently bought a home in Howth with your fabulous wife, Vogue. Okay. So are you excited to experience the whole kind of Irish culture for longer periods of time, when we're allowed to travel again, or?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're so different to us, to be honest. If you go to Fiji, they've got a different culture. If you go to kind of like the deep south in America, they've got kind of different culture. But Ireland is don't know. I think they're pretty similar, no?
But you do a serious impression of an Irish accent, Spencer. It's like a fusion of different Irish accents all rolled into one.
I know. Well, I take kind of my favourite Irish people and I blend them all together. Right.
You kind of remind me of, have you ever seen Snatch?
Yeah.
Remember Brad Pitt's impersonation of an Irish accent?
It's for me, ma.
It's like that.
Yeah. You'd be like, so what do you think about having a flamingo down in your basement?
What's your new place like? You've got your new...
Have you not been?
No, I've only seen photos.
Oh, it's great. I purchased there was a B1 commercial space beneath us, an office space, which I bought. Never with the intention actually of using it as an office. Well, I suppose we can do, but I just thought it's a space directly beneath the house, and I just thought it would be great to have both areas, especially if we want to have a larger family. It would be useful to have the space. So we're just figuring out how to conjoin the two spaces and turn it into a much larger living area, which would be great.
It's incredible. Your location's really, really handy where you are because you're close to everything, really. You're in the
I think
heart
it's
of it all.
absolutely perfect. Well, you've got the park. You've got supermarkets. You've got the Royal College of Art just next door. Not that I ever pop in there for a class, but it's there.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's great actually. It's all very. It's exactly where you'd want to be. Feels nice and safe. You're right on the water. A couple of beautiful bridges on either side. It's awesome actually.
So apart from Vogue and being in this question, what do you love most about Ireland and what do you like least about it?
I love the people. Everyone's typically very friendly and accommodating and good fun. You can't ever knock the Irish for not being a good laugh. Everyone's sense of humour is always on point. Obviously, Howth and the scenery is lovely. It's very quiet, which is nice. Obviously, there's nothing to really get your teeth stuck into there, but that's great. I feel that whenever we do go there, it'll be just to relax, play a bit of golf, chill. I couldn't see myself living there full time, I have to say.
Okay.
But well, unless we were kind of much older, perhaps.
But you like golf. You enjoy the golf over here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm by no means a great golfer, but I enjoy sport in general. So for me, golf is great fun. I enjoy getting out there and giving it a good go. I'll go around and kind of, I've been around my course in 15, and I go around kind of Portmarnock and much, much more than that because it's much harder. But no, it's good fun. So
tell me all about your company, CleanCo.
Well, I used to drink to excess pretty regularly. Never really saw it as a kind of huge issue. I was always quite good fun. I don't think I was a terrible drunk at any points. But just habitually, I would have a drink in my hand. Most evenings, just from developing poor habits over the course of many years of working in the city, working in nightlife, being a very social guy, being on television. So I always had a kind of excuse to drink, and I thought, actually, what would my life be like if I just stopped drinking? So I gave up drinking, and I kind of almost immediately loved it, just loved it. Became really hooked on this kind of feeling of being optimal and being productive, creative and full of energy, and the ability to train harder and lift more weight and run faster and be clear. I was just like, it was amazing. I hadn't ever really given it a break. So to give it this break and to see what was possible, it felt like kind of Bradley Cooper taking one of those pills in Limitless.
Yeah.
It was very similar to that. Genuinely, I was like, what the hell? Really? I had the cloudiest mind for years now.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of unmurky. And in that period of sobriety, I would notice that there was just nothing to fill that habit of kind of, when people are out in the park. It's not like my life became less social. I'd still go out and stuff, but I would choose not to drink. And by choosing not to drink, there was nothing to replace that drink. Alcohol-free beer was, on the up. But actually it's kind of empty calories. It's pretty calorific to drink alcohol-free beer, especially if you have, 5, 6, 7 of them. It's very I always felt very bloated. I was not much of a beer drinker anyway. So I thought, well, why doesn't alcohol-free gin exist? And then, of course, as I started looking, there was one company at the time called Seedlip that did something similar to what I was thinking, but it didn't encapsulate the kind of core value of replacing gin. It was just something in itself. It was something different, made with bark and peas and grass and stuff that I wouldn't expect to find in my gin. Fantastic product, amazing company and concept, but it was very complicated and didn't really do it for me. So I looked to create clean gin and clean rum and clean whiskey, clean tequila, clean vodka to essentially replicate the feeling and taste sensation of drinking an alcoholic drink without the alcohol. And we're coming to the end of our first financial year now, and it's going incredibly well. We're doing massive kind of monthly numbers, more than I ever thought we would. Well, not more than I ever thought we would, but faster than I thought we would get there. No, we've raised, a really healthy chunk of money, and we've got people on board now that I could have only dreamed of, like famous industry professionals.
Wow.
Are now helping us develop our kind of US plan, and will be helping us run the US business. And it's we're on to something really exciting. I mean, it went from trying to fill a gap in the market to potentially changing the world with the people that we've got involved. Obviously, I couldn't do that single-handedly. But it's very exciting, and it's amazing where it's got to in the time that we've been trading.
Unbelievable. And do you ever kind of think forward, like when Theo or Gigi want to, enter into that kind of world of maybe having a drink? How would you feel about that? Like an alcoholic drink?
I don't mind them drinking alcohol at all. I mean, I'll probably be the first to give them a sip of beer or wine or whatever. And her, I don't have a thing against alcohol at all. I'm not anti-alcohol. I probably abused alcohol, which obviously most people don't, and it took me longer than I guess most to realize that my life would be better off without it. I think most people kind of choose and make that decision probably earlier and easier than I did. I was always driven by being the center of attention. I loved being out the latest, and I was always kind of competitive, but in all the wrong ways, I suppose. So for me, it was just a question of reining it in. I suspect that I had some engine on me. I'd love to go out and out. And it's kind of, I just think that most people don't have that appetite. So it isn't an issue for most people. But if Theodore decides he wants to drink a bit, and one night he'll inevitably go too far and he'll end up feeling really sick, and I think he needs to make his own mind up. I don't think you'd ever be a parent that forces your son to be vegan or teetotal, or I just think they should certainly make their own mind up. I think I'll definitely give him a steer in the right direction if it looked as though it was becoming a bit of a regular issue. I would be the first to tell him about all of my experiences, but I do it in a really friendly way. I don't think you'd ever. I think you can have respect for your father if you're treated like an adult. I think pushing kids away and imposing yourself on them only makes them want to go the other way, typically, from what I've seen anyway.
Definitely.
So I think it's important that he just has a comprehensive understanding of alcohol and its effects, and how it can go wrong. Yeah, I don't think it's essential to kind of lay down the law as such. Kids will be kids, If you treat them too strictly, in my opinion, they'll break out the window and they'll go out all night. That's just the way it's going to be.
Unfortunately, that's so true.
I think they need to just feel like they're in control of their own decisions, but be given all of the right information to make the correct decisions.
Yes, exactly. And I think even in the future, we're going to see less and less of a lot of things. I think that there's just a healthier generation coming, up after us.
Well, I mean, 50%, it's estimated, and, you never really know where you get this data from, and it varies from platform to platform. But, it's estimated that 50% of kids who leave school don't drink, it's literally that high. And kids are looking to spend their money on experiences they can remember and share, whether that be on social media or just out with their mates. Falling out of a nightclub, hammered drunk on your hands and knees, is not cool anymore. That whereas it kind of was before. Yeah. So I think they're doing themselves a favor anyway. And it's my personal opinion that in a few years' time, or as early as, 5 or 10 years, full strength alcohol will have far less of a place in society. I agree. Than it does currently.
I agree. It's all about mindfulness and fitness and your health. And I think
it's like health, I say that the company was born from noticing a trend in people who desired a healthier lifestyle. And it's kind of, health is, it doesn't matter how you look at it, health is the most important thing in your life. That is a fact. So it's kind of, anything that you can do to bridge the gap between desire and compromise is rewarded nowadays. So like, if you want a big filthy deep pan stuffed crust pizza, but the compromise is to have a carrot, that is a big gap between what you're looking to consume or feel like consuming,
for sure,
and what you're giving yourself in order to be healthier. That's why when the gap was that large, that's why a lot of people say didn't take the leap into being a vegan or a vegetarian, even if the information that they were presented with, even if you read something and you go, right, okay, fine, I can completely understand why having a plant-based diet is healthier for me, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to eat a plant instead of a steak. And that was the kind of where we were a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And the gap between desire and compromise has now been shortened to the point where before, if you were having a nut roast when you fancied a roast, then came Quorn, then came the veggie burger, and then came a kind of cheeseburger if you fancied a cheeseburger. And now you've got companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Meat who can give you that experience of having a cheeseburger without having any meat. And so it's easier now to be vegan than it was a few years ago. And we're aiming to bridge that gap between compromise and desire for alcohol. So those who feel like they want to take the edge off their day, and by the way, alcohol does not take the edge off your day. The feeling and the ritual of pouring yourself an alcoholic drink.
Oh no, like at the end of a tough week, I often wonder, is it the alcohol that makes you feel like you're decompressing, or is it because it's the end? I don't know.
Well,
ceremony.
Actually, we can say with a degree of confidence that it's not the alcohol. And actually, we're doing some really exciting tests to be able to prove that it's not the alcohol. So when you're stressed or anxious and you've had a long day and you come back and you crack open that alcoholic drink and you take that first sip and you go, oh, I feel so much better. The time that you've taken the sip to that feeling, it couldn't possibly be the alcohol that's alleviated you of that kind of stress. And then, when alcohol does course around your system, it's only gonna make whatever was bothering you worse in the long run. And I feel that people already know that, but for whatever reason, when faced with adversity, they people turn to alcohol. But we're looking to come up with exciting ways of proving that actually, if you crack open a bottle of clean gin and pour yourself a clean gin and tonic, it does the exact same thing for you.
It's incredible. It's like a placebo effect.
Yeah, well, it is really. I think people are so used to drinking alcohol when they're worried or stressed or under pressure, that actually that feeling of, oh, right, I'm getting this huge release from the alcohol is in your head most of the time.
That's unbelievable. I need to get my hands on some of this gin, to be honest. I haven't tried it.
If you send me an address, I'll send you some.
I will. Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. And I actually really do think you've got a point there. It has to be something like that, a placebo effect. It's just the whole, oh God, I can't wait to, open up a bottle of wine on a Friday evening. And it's just that whole kind of ritual.
Yeah,
that you think is what it's going to help decompress you after a tough week. But in fact, it's probably nothing to do with that at all.
I mean, a good run would do you far more good. Like, legitimately, I know it kind of requires a bit more effort than opening a bottle of wine, but if you're feeling like a bit pent up and you're feeling a bit subdued or upset for any reason, if you lace up your shoes and go for a nice slow lap of whatever park you live next to, it's going to be far more wondrous for you and your mental health than any glass of wine ever could be.
That's for sure. I remember a couple of years ago, it was after one Christmas time when, you've had loads of wine and loads of dinners and you just feel kind of toxic and tired and all those things. And I remember going into the health food store and then she said, what were you drinking over Christmas, over the holidays? And I said, well, I wouldn't really drink anything outside of a glass of wine or two. And she said, definitely one glass of wine is really good for your heart. But after that, like the second glass of wine is when you start poisoning yourself. And I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scary.
No, it is. And also we're not anti-alcohol as a company. I'm not anti-alcohol either, and I'm not here to preach saying that people shouldn't drink alcohol. I'm just here to highlight, that there's a choice now when it comes to what level of alcohol you'd like in your drink. That's all really is. If you're the kind of person who drinks because you're just used to drinking, or that's just what you've done your whole life, but actually that you could probably benefit from drinking a bit less alcohol, then Clean Co could be for you.
Yeah, sounds good. And I've been reading where sales on home gyms have just accelerated over the lockdown.
Yeah.
You guys have a gym at home, don't you?
Yeah. So we've got a friend who owns a gym, and right at the very beginning, we just said, look, if you're going to be shutting your gym, could you ship us some of your machines, and we'll rent them from you, and then we'll ship them back, when your gym opens. And he thought that was great. So we've done that. We've got a real setup downstairs. I mean, it's an absolute mess, really. But as you come in, there's all sorts. There's everything you'd ever need, really. But unfortunately, it won't be permanent. But it's a good idea, right? To be able to stay fit and healthy. I mean, I know that if I stop training or running or even skipping or lifting, I get my shape changes incredibly quickly. So,
Really?
I can get into very good shape, pretty easily. And it can go the other way, very easily as well. So for me, it's essential to kind of keep your foot on the gas. And also I love doing it. It makes me feel, I guess more optimal. I'm all into this optimization piece at the minute. Is
healthy eating important to yourself and Vogue?
Yes, it is. But we also, I suppose it is. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't catch us eating, our diets are not terrible. But it's kind of, we have very good diets peppered with, just a bit of nonsense. We love chocolate. So we'll eat Cadbury's chocolate every single day. We'll have chocolate in the morning. We'll have chocolate at lunch. We'll have chocolate at dinner.
Really?
We'll always just niggle into one of those big bars of whole nut. We'll get through a bar of whole nut, a big one every day. So obviously that's not great for your diet, but it kind of replaces calories. I often, I especially in lockdown, I'll lift and I'll do cardio kind of most days. So, in order to maintain a kind of certain level of mass, I replace just calories that I'd burn on the running machine.
Okay.
And kind of essentially, I mean, we eat well, we do a lot of cooking at home. Our diets are pretty good. We don't get big pizzas and big, Indian takeaways. We're very, but we're not militant either. And we eat, huge portions, by the way. So we don't calorie count. We're not careful with what we eat, but we make sure that we, eat well, I suppose.
Do you have a sweet tooth? Are you more savory, or are you separate to kind of Cadbury chocolates? Would you eat anything else? We
do have a sweet tooth, but it's kind of limited. You wouldn't catch us, baking a big cake and eating a cake, or we're not huge on desserts. We don't nail tubs of ice cream, but Cadbury's is a soft spot. We do eat Cadbury's every single day. Actually, we said to ourselves last night, we were like, should we do no chocolate for a week? And we both agreed that was a bad idea.
You can't take away your chocolate, especially during a lockdown. Come on.
No, we
gotta have some pleasures in life. Spencer, I know you're an entrepreneur, and I've always wondered this about you. Do you always see missed opportunities when you're traveling, or do you pick up ideas that you'd love to bring back to the UK? Or
yeah, I mean, sometimes. I'm not. Starting a business is incredibly time consuming and incredibly difficult, especially if you aim for your startup to be a global business, and it's not. It's not local. It's not. You're not just looking to have a bit of fun with it. If you're aiming to build a big team of, interesting individuals who are going to take your product global, it takes years of your life. So it's I'm so committed to Clean Co that I do often see a little idea when I'm away, and I go, that would be great, and what good fun to build that. But actually, it's so time consuming and requires so much time and attention that unless you know that it's going to hold your interest for years to come, and you're going to be able to successfully and enthusiastically sell it to people, it's complicated.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
feel like you can't just kind of leaf around and lily frog around and start a business, another business, another business, another business. I did that for a while when I'd have teams of 2 or 3, and anything that came in above and beyond what the business required to function, we just split 3 ways, and we pay our tax and VAT, and then we just carry on and crack on with other stuff because you had the time. CleanCo is like, we have 40 employees now, nearly.
That's incredible. Wow.
So it's like a proper.
Wow.
It's a proper thing now. So it's kind of, if I suddenly came in and I said, "Oh my God, I've got this amazing idea for this new pencil sharpener," everyone would be like, "Okay, mate, yeah. So should we do it some other time?" So actually, I feel like I'm very fortunate in that I'm incredibly busy with a project that really drives me and that I'm passionate about. So even when I do see some incredible wallet that attaches itself to your phone, I'm kind of like, that's, I'm less tempted to dive into it.
Are you a super duper organized person, Spencer? Do you like deadlines, and are you efficient, or how do you what is your way?
Not typically, no. Well, I am. Obviously, I'm organized enough to run a business, but I'm not organized in the sense that I know what what I need to be doing next week on Thursday. I'm quite, I'm pretty. My diary is obviously managed very efficiently, and I know what I'm doing for work. But Vogue will know what Theodore's wearing like 4 days from now. I'm not like that in any way. And I'm pretty relaxed as well. Like, if a plan changes, I can ride that wave like really easily. Whereas some people, hate change, or if we've planned to go to the park and it starts raining, it's like, oh, we're going anyway. It's like, well, let's not. It's raining now. So yeah. I think it's no. I don't. I'm organized enough, but not in like a strange way. No.
What's your morning ritual? You wake up in the morning at what time, and then how does your average day begin?
I typically get out of bed at 7. I'm usually awake a bit before that. And I will immediately have 2 full long set red coffee capsules from Nespresso. I went into Nespresso once and I said, "What cat makes you feel like you're having a heart attack immediately?" And they said, "That red one." I said, "Perfect." So I'll buy 400 of them. I love strong coffee. I love coffee. Like, I'm a huge coffee guy. I don't sound it obviously by having Nespresso in the morning. We have a wonderful coffee machine downstairs, and we've got an amazing one in the office as well. I just the nearest one in the morning's fine.
Is this the one your mom bought for you? I think it's the one.
No, she bought us a beautiful toaster.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was a coffee machine. Sorry.
No, and essentially we have a bit of fun with that, and I love coffee, so I'll have coffee, and then typically I'll train, and then I'll have breakfast after training, breakfast in the shower after that, and get going just before 9 typically with our work day. Our CleanCo work day starts at 9 for everybody else, so it's nice to be kind of online and available from then onwards. And usually we'll have, on Monday mornings, we'll have a 9:30 a.m. catch up with the whole team. And then typically, obviously, being locked down, it's more complicated than usual, but we keep in touch with kind of most people from the team on a daily basis and continue to try and drive the business forward. I'll squeeze in some weights or, some running at some point. Spend a bit of time with the kids and try and see my wife for lunch every day, obviously. I say try and see her. I mean, she's always around. We're in the house, obviously. But from 3 till 6, I'm on the phone with the US every day.
Wow.
Monday to Friday with our team over there. And tonight I'm on QVC, which should be fun.
Oh, have you done it before?
Yeah, I've done it once before.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. Is that for the CleanCo?
Yeah. So we're selling some change in tonight. But no, I mean, it's nice to try and kind of vary your day and keep it a bit different. But no, the reality is, I love our work, and we're making great progress, and, happy with the family. So not too much to complain about. And we just crack on and get our bits done. And in the evening, Vogue and I will kind of, once we put the kids down at 7, we'll have time together. We'd try and watch a box set. You know, we're in bed pretty early. Unfortunately, you know, we're asleep. We're asleep by 9.
Wow, that's early. But you're up early, and then you're doing night feeds. So like, there's loads going on. You're just busy.
I'll go to sleep from 9 until 11. Then I get up and feed Gigi. That's a dream feed, by the way. So she will. I'll pick her up when she's asleep, pump her full of 5 ounces of warm milk, and put her back in bed. She doesn't even know it's happened.
I know. Treat feeds are amazing.
You know what I mean? It's like that. Imagine the luxury of being held and fed when you're asleep, and then put back in bed. You go to bed feeling, I'm a little bit hungry, and then you wake up not hungry. Imagine why that is.
It's the most incredible thing. And how they don't wake is what just fascinates me. How they don't wake up. It's hilarious. They are asleep while they're drinking their milk. It's so funny. It's very cute. And so do you find cooking relaxing in the evening? Do you both cook, or do you like, is it one night Spencer, one night Vogue, or how does it work?
Vogue probably cooks a bit more than me. But no, it's kind of like we try and keep things varied and kind of fair in the house. She loves cooking. I obviously have done MasterChef a couple of times, and I love cooking too. But you know, we often keep things really simple. We'll often eat the same thing that we make Theodore, and he eats at 5, and sometimes we'll eat at 5. You know, just to make it so we can all sit together.
That's nice. Yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. You know, we kind of just get on with things like a normal family.
And do you think you're becoming more like your own parents as you get older?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, I had a lovely childhood and always really looked up to my dad and my mum. Mum couldn't be kinder and you know, more kind of genuine and puts herself second in any situation, always looks after everyone. And I've always looked up to my dad and thought he had incredible, you know, business skill, and you know, is able to you know, layer deals particularly effectively. And you know, I always so if I could be like them, I certainly would choose to be.
Can you remember or can you share with me the highest point in your life and the lowest point in your life?
The highest point in my life, I suppose the highest point in my life will have been recently. You know, I feel like I'm a completely different person now to how I have been for a lot of my 20s. I feel like, you know, some of the stuff which hopefully you'll be reading in the Financial Times, you know, in the not too distant future, is stuff that I would have thought was entirely impossible of myself as early as 2 years ago. So, you know, this whole clean code journey for me has been nothing short of amazing. You know, some of the people that we have on our board of directors now, and you know, who've invested in the company, are like huge names who you'll know. You know, I'm not going to say who they are right now because it's coming out in 8 weeks or so, but like it's going to take the company global and everywhere, and we'll, you know, it'll be just amazing. And you know, I guess I'll always feel like I was responsible for that initially. So, you know, at the moment, my life is in a really almost unexpected, awesome place, unexpectedly awesome place. And so, you know, I'm living a kind of high constantly at the moment. The low, I don't know, it was probably around the time that I was habitually drinking too much and not achieving anything with my life. And, you know, I suppose I thought for a split second, you know, 5-6 months before Theodore was born, that perhaps I'd make a terrible father, which was a pretty, you know, low place to be. Because I've always wanted to be a great father. My brother died when I was 10, you know, and that was a bit of a blow. But fortunately, I was so young that it didn't hit home in the way that it could have had I been slightly older. But yeah, I suppose my kind of darker days, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, even though I was having a good time in inverted commas, I felt, you know, very empty, bit useless, vacuous. Pathetic almost in some of my decisions to you know, not grasp opportunity and, you know, seize the future.
Totally. So, you totally evolved as a person. It sounds like it's really amazing. And would you describe yourself as a spiritual person? And when I ask that question, I mean, do you believe that what you put out there comes back to you and all that kind of stuff?
I think it's hard to ignore that element of life. I think I don't believe that if you blindly and flat out disagree with that bad things will happen to you. But I think it's nice in human nature to have some belief of a greater good like that. If you do nice things for people, nice things will happen to you. Work hard, make a difference, and be kind, and I think one thing's for sure: when you are on a roll, on a good roll, and you are kind to everyone, and you do make time for people less fortunate, perhaps, and you are available, the things do tend to go your way, as opposed to being an incredibly selfish, self-obsessed, character who's not open to the world. Things tend to not go your way. So yeah, I feel, incredible things rarely happen to nasty people. So, I think it's important to at least be open to the view that, if you send out good vibes, you'll receive them. I think that's a fair way to exist.
Definitely. And who has inspired you the most in your life?
My brother has inspired me an awful lot. So has my dad. My other brother, Mike, who we lost on Mount Everest, is probably the most inspiring person in my life. He was the youngest Brit to reach the summit of Mount Everest and experienced some oxygen difficulty on the way down, and we lost him when he was just 22. So he inspires me, and I often find myself thinking that he's helping and kind of puppeting me through to this successful kind of life that I've always wanted. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to think like that anyway. My wife inspires me. I think she's brilliant. She works harder than most people I know and just cares enormously about the family. She's the most wonderful mother and wife to me. So she's fantastic. My sister inspires me. I tend to keep a very close group, I'm a very family kind of guy. I'm not, I'll have, hundreds of people that I know and get along very well with, but, I wouldn't blindly trust anyone outside of my family. And the people who inspire me most are probably those who are closest to me and who I know the best.
And where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
I'm not sure. It's a tricky question. Certainly, if we're still in CleanCo, then I see us being publicly traded by then, if we're still involved. Mm-hmm. If we're not, we will have sold, and I will be doing something else with an attachment, obviously, to CleanCo. It'll always be my. I'll always have a big focus on it, whether or not I'm still involved in the business. A lot of things can happen to a rapidly growing business. You never quite know. If our business was to be acquired, I don't know what my role would be going forwards. I'm not a typical chief executive officer. I'm not what a blue chip company would look for in a CEO. So, I'm not sure what my position would be were we to be acquired. And if it was to become publicly traded, I don't know what kind of part I'd play in it either. So 10 years is quite a long way away. 5 years, similar issues, I guess. I'm not sure, but I've got a particularly I've got a creative mind, and I've got a few other ideas that, I'd like in a very similar space. But ultimately I'd like to keep pushing the same message that I am now. I think the alcohol message is incredibly important. I think it's more relevant now than ever. So whatever I do going forwards, I can see that playing a big part in my work.
Excellent. And my final question, what advice would you give to your younger self?
My advice would be to myself that, if you actually get your head down and work hard and don't cut corners, you can achieve great things. And that goes for anyone, not just me. I feel that what often got in my way was thinking that, that wasn't you, or that you couldn't do it. And I think, trying to realize your full potential is very important. And there's nothing more rewarding than feeling like you're getting there. So even if you think it's a million miles away, try and give it a go. And if that means making some minor changes to your life, like drinking a little bit less or working a little bit harder, then I suggest giving it a go.
Exactly. You just never know where it's going to lead you. I mean, you are really an example.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
And I'm going to quickly ask you just one quick thing. It's called a quick fire round of questions. It's one or the other. You ready?
Yep.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Socks or jocks?
Socks.
Which do you do more, text or talk?
Talk.
Caribbean or London?
Caribbean.
Holidays, home or abroad?
Abroad.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Horse racing or skiing?
Skiing.
Cooking or baking?
Cooking.
Online or in-store shopping?
For me, in store, but I'm kind of moving towards online a bit because you have to.
Yeah. Taxi or walk?
Walk.
Diamonds or Cleanco?
Cleanco.
Eat in or take out?
Eat in.
2021 or 2022?
2021. Live in the present. Let's go.
I love it. Spencer, thank you so much for joining me today.
Cheers, Arlene. That's very kind. Looking forward to seeing you post-lockdown.
Exactly. You take care.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.